For over 15 years, Saturdays and a legal curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Big game day, double game day. As it were, the Jets, the Moose, they're both in action this afternoon. We're here for the next couple of hours to talk about it all. Getting you ready, getting you set, and then, of course, the Illegal Curve post-game show coming up a little bit later on this afternoon as well. With that in mind, and Dave Manouk in the top right and Ezra Ginsburg in the bottom middle. With that in mind, I say the following. Say it along with me, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're tuning in from. Good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this morning on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning, universe, and welcome, welcome, welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Gentlemen, I got to get the hype up. I got to get the excitement. I got to get the blood flowing. The Jets aren't doing it, but I might as well be our own personal hype man, getting everybody ready, getting everything set for 2 hours of hockey talk on this Saturday morning. How are you gentlemen doing?
Doing well. I'm just reading the Winnipeg Jets morning papers, today's hockey headlines. Just getting that, getting my fill in. Notice that Dave added the today's hockey headlines. Why did you add that, by the way, Dave?
Just change things up. I was trying to figure out some more SEO things to do, and I was kind of reasonably informed that that was a better way of presenting it. I needed to include the date, I was told. So I've amended it slightly after 17
years.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it was something else. I don't remember what the first iteration was, but it's gone through some edits and mods. I'm not going to say it's been that way for a while, and I'm disappointed as he's just noticing now. But the fact is that we had to make some. Hey, you know what? It's all about evolving. We at IC.com had to evolve, and we did.
There you go.
Don't worry, is it about evolving? I like the way I am. I don't want to evolve. I want to stay exactly how I am. I don't want to change.
Dave is an old dog who can learn new tricks, as he's just an old dog who needs to be put down. Apparently, that's the difference between the two of you guys.
We're taking Ezzy to a kill shelter.
That's right, exactly. None of those no-kill shelters. We only want them the most aggressive shelter possible.
Dave, that was a little harsh. I prefer the pound, the kill shelter.
I dropped him off, but I said, please treat him for fleas, and then off with his head.
Wow, throwing a little Marie Antoinette in there. Dave's, just historical references galore this early in the morning on a Saturday. The Jets are going to be in Florida later on this afternoon. A 3:00 Central puck drop between the Jets and the Florida Panthers. Post-game show, as I mentioned, a little bit later on. We know where the Jets lie in the standings. We know that they are, unfortunately, at game number 52 of the season?
53, yeah.
Okay, even better.
They played 53 tonight. Today is 54.
Okay, so we know that the final 28 are largely going to be window dressing for this team. They're not going to be of a consequential nature. That is becoming more and more apparent by the day, as we've all expected it to be the case.
It's also looking that way for the defending Stanley Cup champions, the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions.
It's true. I mean, the Panthers are, at least what the Panthers have going for them, because I don't disagree with you, Dave, that they are certainly up against it and will need to go on a significant run. Mm-hmm. At least what they have going for them is that they are the top team that's not currently a wild card team in the Eastern Conference. So there is a big gap. There's an 8-point gap between the Bruins and the Canadiens. Both of those two teams are wild card 1 and wild card 2. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Panthers, albeit also tied with the Blue Jackets and the Capitals, who are right outside of the wild card spot. So they don't have. What I'm saying is they don't have the same number of teams that they have to leap over.
Sure.
Which is probably an advantageous position to be in. Whereas the Jets, we know where they lie in the Western Conference. They still have those 4 teams that they would have to leap over just to get closest to the wild card spot. So that's why we know it's a uphill climb for the Winnipeg Jets, 10 points currently behind the Anaheim Ducks for the second wild card spot. obviously the players, they still have designs on somehow pulling off an incredible run and making it into the playoffs. We saw on Thursday night against the Tampa Bay Lightning just how far behind they are in terms of the quality of play that they can produce. But tonight they'll try and replicate or better replicate the look of a playoff team as opposed to what they did on Thursday night, which is not, it's not going to be an easy matchup going into Florida to face a Panthers team that defeated the Jets in that shootout just about 10 days or so ago.
Well, and just going back to the Panthers and where they are in the standings, right? Like, you can't lose to the St. Louis Blues 5-4 a couple nights ago, right, Dave? Like, if you really want to make up some ground, like, that's just a game you have to beat. The Blues are not a very good team. We just saw the Jets beat the Blues. I can't emphasize enough how bad the Blues are. They're not a good team, despite the fact that they've got some good veteran players on that team. But yeah, Florida, look, I remember, if you guys remember, I mean, why wouldn't you? You were on the show, but we had Dan Rosen of NHL.com on the season preview show, and that was right when we found out that Alex Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk were going to be out for an extended period of time. Obviously, Barkov longer. And I remember asking him, this is before the season even started, I said, are the Panthers in danger of missing the playoffs? And Dan Rosen said, no. And even when I asked that question, I mean, that was a little sensationalist, right? Like, but look where they are now. I mean, like, it's not just having Barkov out the whole year, right, Dave? Like, the goaltending has been atrocious. You look at Bobrovsky's numbers, you look at Tarasov's numbers have actually been better than Bobrovsky, but I was looking at goals save above expected because I wanted to see where Hellebuyck ranked, which is, by the way, a lot lower than he normally is. I think he's 18th in goal save above expected. I think Bobrovsky was like 57th in goal save above expected.
That good?
No, it's only a negative number at that point in time.
The goaltending's been bad. Obviously, they've missed Barkov. He's their best player. They missed Tkachuk for, how many games was he out? 45 games, something like that, right? Yeah. So
Marchand missed some time.
Marchand's missed some time. I believe he's back though, right, Dave?
He's back, yeah.
But so, I mean, the Panthers are still going to, the Panthers as defending Stanley Cup champions twice, they're still going to be competing. So I expect a hard-fought game, but also it's an afternoon game, so I think it's fair to expect it to have a little bit of a slow start, but kind of two similarities, right, guys? Like, two teams that had high expectations at the beginning of the season, and they're in serious danger of missing the playoffs.
If you look strictly at goals saved above expected, Sergei Bobrovsky is 83rd in the NHL at minus 10.3. It's even lower. I mean, he's having a terrible year, which is clearly outlined by that statistic I just mentioned, which is basically the worst in the league, though, mind you, is Canada's starting goaltender at the Olympics, Jordan Binnington, at minus 22.3. Hellebuyck at least is still in the positives. He's still, Connor Hellebuyck is having a down year. He's still, where is he right now? He's 19th in the NHL. So for as poor of a season as it's been based on Connor Hellebuyck's, typical performance, he's still holding his own among the middling NHL goaltenders.
We've got someone from Gavin McKenna's family in the chat right now.
Look, and he says Whitehouse. Speaking of Winnipeg to Whitehouse to Winnipeg does sound good. Although Gavin McKenna, that Cretin, he just got suspended again as he back-to-back games has been suspended from Penn State. So, or he was ejected out of the game, I should say.
Well, he's
good. He's got a little fire in his belly.
I like the fire in the belly, but obviously the Jets would love to see their name drawn as a draft lottery winner. I mean, as the season continues to head that way, but that's a separate issue for another day and time. Talking about Connor Hellebuyck, though, I want to start with that.
Sure.
We've seen him make some saves this week, last week, the last couple of weeks, ever since he's returned. But he certainly doesn't look like I would describe Connor Hellebuyck typically looks. He looks... there's goals going in that don't typically go in. There's saves that aren't being saved. He would never admit it. He would never talk about it publicly. But what percentage of health do you guys think that Connor Hellebuyck is really at after the knee surgery earlier this season, given the struggles of the team in front of him, given his own personal downturn from where he typically is? What percentage of health do you think that Connor Hellebuyck is at this point in the season? And as an addendum to that, if you don't think that he's, at premier health, as I do not,
Mhm.
Do you think the Jets, after the Olympics, maybe after the trade deadline, as the season continues to drift away, do you think the Jets would consider shutting him down and getting him healthy for next year?
It's a very interesting question. Dave and I aren't doctors, even though we've.
Yeah, let me peruse his medical report here, Drew.
Look, I'm just asking you as a lay person.
I know. I'm
not asking you to do a deep dive into the current arthroscopic situation regarding his knee, but just based on the eye test, if you will. We don't have insight into his analytics, his knee analytics, but that was just I think we all know what we're seeing, and we're not seeing Connor Hellebuyck at his peak, and I believe that a lot of that has to do with the injury situation, the injury he suffered, the injury he came back from,
and he was
quicker than we all expected.
But he was also dealing it, just as before you get in here, we should paint a clear picture, because Doug said he wasn't good all year, and I said the truth is he's been injured since training camp. Because remember,
Sure.
he fought through this for the first 12 games of the season before he realized. And remember, there were some tells, right? I remember when Eric Comrie started that game against, I think it was Columbus, and it was the game we all expected Connor Hellebuyck to play. And it ended up being Eric Comrie. I remember thinking to myself, oh, and I thought, maybe right, maybe wrong, that at the time they were like, oh, well, they're going to try and work Eric Comrie to some more games, right? But in the end, it turned, and maybe that was the philosophy. We don't know. But what we do know is he's been dealing with what the facts is that he was dealing with an injury in training camp, or a situation in training camp. And it obviously got progressively worse to the point where he needed that procedure. And yeah, I as you can go ahead, and then I'll finish with my thought.
Well, Dave, WebMD says Connor Hellebuyck probably should have waited an extra week to come back. No, obviously, I mean, it's safe to assume none of us know. So, I mean, for me to speculate, Drew, I mean, it's not that I'm like copying out or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, I have no idea, right? Like, I could guess
your opinion. That's
no,
I'm
but
asking. I'm not asking for you to be right or wrong.
No.
I'm
I know
asking
you're
you based on what your observations tell you, and if you believe that he is still injured, do you think the Jets should consider shutting him down early for this?
I think there's obviously two big parts of your question, right?
Yes,
like
the
the first one, based on my observations, he's not playing as well, right? Like that's obvious. Like you look at his numbers, and we already talked about goal save above expected, like 902 save percentage, a record of 13, 15, and 6 with a 2.71 goals against average, guys. Like these are just not Hellebuckian numbers. Like these are just not numbers you've expected to see in the past, and obviously that has a lot to do with the players in front of him. Like we're not saying that Hellebuck's play is the main reason why the Jets are struggling. The Jets have had all different types of problems throughout the year, but I mean, I think it was the goal, the Yanni Gourde goal, when he kind of got spun around. I think it was the third goal, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong about that goal, but it was kind of the goal where he got spun around.
You're talking about the goal on Thursday against Tampa.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that was the third goal. That was the redirection when the Lightning had the delay. The delayed penalty was coming to the Jets. I think it was coming to Stanley?
Logan Stanley.
Yeah. Okay. So where Hellebuyck was expecting the shot, and then it was a shot pass and a redirection, and he was moving from his left to his right, and it went 5-hole on him.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for articulating that better than I could, Drew. And no, I mean, it just the way he was moving, I was going to say, was awkward. Like I just thought the whole way that he was tracking the puck and he was moving in his net looked awkward. And I think we've seen that in previous games as well, where it just, he's either out of position or he just isn't moving the same way as he normally does, because that's the key. And we've had Kevin Woodley on, and we've had Marty Baron and others. The thing with Hellebuyck is he rarely puts himself out of position. That's his whole key, right? Is that he's so good at tracking the puck.
Positionally sound, big and boring.
Yes, absolutely. Big and boring is what we've been saying for 10 years now, right?
I thought that was the name of the show.
Yeah, but based on that, right, Dave? Like
we're not boring. I mean, you could say a lot about us, but we're definitely not boring.
I know, but I had to get it in
speak for yourself, Drew.
Ezzy, of the three of us, you are most assuredly
not boring.
The least boring one of us.
I try. We all try to have a good...
Any man who created a reality show called The Ezzies is definitely a non-boring man.
An award show, yes.
We kibitz. We have a good time on the Illegal Curve show, right, boys? But I think, to kind of answer your question more directly, Drew, as opposed to the circular route I'm taking. I think it's probably he's probably at 80% health or 70% health, and I think your second question is really interesting, right? Because he's going to go to the Olympics. You have to assume he's going to be the starter, or at the very least, he's going to get one game, right? It's going to be him or Jake Ottinger, right, Dave? At the very least, you expect Hellebuyck to get a game. And so if the Jets are out of a playoff race, which they are currently, there's no reason to believe they won't after the Olympic break. I think, it'll be interesting to see if the Jets sit him out a little bit and play Comrie more.
Well, there's no reason, Dave. Again, the organization can say whatever they want to say about still being in the fight, still trying to make a run for it, still trying to do this, still trying to do that. We get that, and they have to pay lip service to the idea. But at this point, your focus for a lot of the players that are going to be back next season, and Connor Hellebuyck certainly is one of those players, your focus has to be on having them at peak physical condition for the start of the 26-27 season. Now, there's no reason to further tax Connor Hellebuyck beyond what is, reasonable as the season continues to drift away. And if he is injured, or if he is not at 100% or not, able to perform at his peak ability, who is it benefiting by keeping him, by running him out there to do further damage potentially, or further just not give him enough time to rest himself up for next year at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine, and this is something we're not privy to, but I would imagine that the coaching staff and the medical staff have had a discussion as to whether I would imagine, Drew, if he was doing any sort of harm to himself based on, putting stress on whatever he had done, then that would be a conversation they could have. If they think that he's not at 100%, but he's not at risk of doing any further damage to himself, then they probably are going to say that the summer is sufficient for him to get healthy. Now, similar to the situation I've expressed once the trade deadline happens and we anticipate 3 or 4 guys being dealt, and you're going to give the young kids a chance.
Dave, Hellebuyck might be injured. I don't think you're going to trade him, though.
Fair point. Maybe clarity is important here. I'm not advocating or suggesting that you're going to trade him, but I would say that it gives you an opportunity to get DiVincentis a game or two. It gives you an opportunity to get Thomas Milic a few more games. Now, we'll see. But yeah, I right now, I mean, it's funny because part of it is also that the team isn't the same team in front of him, and we are used to seeing. It's kind of a perfect storm of unfortunate. If Connor Hellebuyck was healthy and hadn't had the situation in training camp and hadn't had the situation in, that necessitated the procedure in early November, my guess is that the Jets would probably be a playoff team right now, because he's that good in the sense that he can be the difference maker. Even, I mean, people are saying, oh, and I saw the comment, and I agree for sure that the Jets defense this year is not what the defense has been previously. But I would also say that Connor Hellebuyck has played through bad Jets defenses and still been a difference maker for this team. I mean, his goal saved above expected, Drew. I mean, I was looking at the Evolving Hockey guys, and they still have him in the 11th overall. So, I mean, everybody uses different models, so it doesn't really matter. But the fact is that he's still his number, again, according to them, was still close to 20. Now, again, like I said, it's not Ilya Sorokin's 40 as he. But for Connor Hellebuyck, and it's a decrease.
Yeah, but 11 is not that good though, Dave. Like 11 still does not put him in the elite.
But true, but 11 on a team that's 30 or 29th as he is kind of, you're trying to kind of hold up the water in the dam, but there's only so much you can do yourself, is what I would say. And to the point that we can talk to Sean about it, because he's the one who brought it up in terms of the type of shots that are getting through to him, right? The amount of tip shots, it's things that he is dealing with, that for the last few years, with the Jets being the team they were defensively, he was seeing those shots more. He was being able to, he didn't have to kind of guess because he saw them. And now he's not seeing them. How many times have we said, what the hell was the defense doing there? Or what were the forwards doing there? So I just think it's a perfect storm right now. I'm not making excuses for him. I just think that's what I'm seeing. is that it's a perfect storm of unfortunate that Hellebuyck is dealing with injury, and the Jets defensively are not as good as they have been.
No, nobody's saying that Hellebuyck isn't an elite goalie, Dave. We're just saying Hellebuyck hasn't been as good this year.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not
regardless of how injured he is. I mean, just look at his numbers.
Well, it's funny.
Any metric, goal save above expected, save percentage, anything. I mean, goals against average is a team stat. We know that. So, I mean, goals against average is less relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But to Dave's point, being 11th still, what you're saying is he's still an above average goalie on a very below average team, right?
Right. He's just not an elite goalie, which we're used to seeing. That's all I would say.
Yeah,
that's
all true. Yeah.
I mean, the one area that he's still been elite at this year is his goaltending while the Jets are shorthanded. He's 4th in the NHL in goals saved above expected while the Jets are shorthanded, 4v5. I mean, he's up there still with the Vasilevskis and the Sorokins. I mean, Dennis Hildeby's there as well, but that's in a much smaller sample size, so I'm not going to include Dennis Hildeby, with all due respect to the Leafs goaltender. I guess he's the Marlies goaltender right now. But, Hellebuyck, when the Jets are shorthanded, he's still their best penalty killer, and he has been. Yeah,
sorry. It's a good point you make, Drew. Did I see, by the way, that the Leafs signed Caden Primo? Was I crazy to think that?
I haven't seen that, but I mean, a simple Google search or a web search.
Did they claim him on waivers?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they claimed him on waivers. Like anybody who watched Caden Primo with the Montreal Canadiens, I'm not sure what they were seeing, but
yeah, apparently he did play. How about that?
Yeah.
He was claimed off No, this is an article back in 2025, Ezzy. So that could be I don't think. Are you sure you weren't seeing something old?
It's possible. But
okay, yeah, I think you might have seen something.
The goaltending is, speaking of goaltending problems, whether it's Joseph Wall, Dennis Hildeby, I mean, whoever they've had in net, it's been an issue there.
This is much more of a woe Canada year, this the 25-26 season.
Well, no kidding.
Yeah, the only hope really comes from the Edmonton Oilers, as it has for.
And they somehow just won their first 3-game. They just won on their first 3-game win streak of this season.
Well, and they had to do it, and they're tied for the top spot in the Western in the Pacific Division.
And they had to do it while down 3-0 to San Jose late in the third, and scoring 3 goals there.
Yeah, I mean, so
and that was at the beginning of the year. You're right, Drew. Caden Primo. I'm not sure why I thought that, but Caden Primo. Yeah, it was the beginning of the year.
No, but it's funny. A lot of stuff gets recycled. Honestly, sometimes you'll see an article, and I'm like, well, what is going on? Why is this being posted? So it just gets it's old news that gets recycled. So
Ezzy, you're turning.
I got your back, Ez.
You're turning into a grandparent who sees something on Facebook from 8 years ago and thinks it's actually happening live.
I appreciate it, Dave. But based on what I just said, I think it's time to recycle me and maybe take me out back.
Well, that's why Dave's already taking you to the kill shelter. So you're not doing yourself any favors based on your insight and your analysis. In any event, going back to my topic about Hellebuyck, I mean, again, you look at it, my concern, and I think the Jets' priority has to be next year.
Yes.
It has to be making sure that everybody is fully healthy for the start of the 26-27 season. And our buddy Doug in the chat, when I started off, the question immediately jumped down my throat, as Doug oftentimes tends to do, and says, what about shutting down Lowry then? What about shutting down Perfetti then? And those are definitely arguments to be made, and we can have those discussions a little bit later on, over the course of the next weeks and months as we're trying to fill out the things to talk about here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show as the Jets season, comes to a dwindling end over the next few weeks and months. But Hellebuyck is the priority. He is the guy who you've already overused for years at this point in time, and he's not getting any younger. So to some extent, giving him an extended off season, as much as the Jets players themselves would hate it, as much as Hellebuyck themselves would hate it, because this team expects to be playing deep into a playoff schedule, which they're not going to this year. Maybe that's the best case scenario for multiple years to come after this season. This year is a perfect storm of terrible for the Winnipeg Jets, but maybe you can use that to your advantage for the next couple of years to come, getting unexpected rest when you expected to be playing longer into the season this year.
Yeah, based on what you just said, Drew, it seems fairly obvious to me that you rest Hellebuyck, right? This isn't a situation like back in 2015. Remember when the Jets ran Andre Pavlik to make that late playoff run?
Sure.
Right? Like this is the complete opposite. You're 10 points back. You're most likely not making the playoffs. We talked about it. You're basically going to have to win, 75% of your games to get into the playoffs, or at the very least, you're going to have to win 70% of your games. No, all I'm saying is it's very unlikely the Jets are making the playoffs this year. So that alone, coupled with the fact that Hellebuyck had the knee surgery, should mean, Dave, that you play Comrie a little bit more. And like you said earlier, you bring Dom DiVincentis up, you give him a game or two, Thomas Milic, you give him, a few games. Like it seems pretty obvious to me.
Well, that you do that for a couple of reasons, because when folks have asked me what is the Jets goaltending plan for next year, my assessment is that both Dom and Thomas, who have been very good for the Manitoba Moose, are probably not yet ready to be the official backups. And the reason I say that is because it's one thing to be a backup. Are they capable of being a guy who plays, with Hellebuyck's schedule, 1 out of every 5 or 6 games? I think so. That's not the issue. The issue is if something happens with Connor Hellebuyck and you need a starter, are those guys ready to be starters in the NHL? That's where I would say I'm not ready to make that statement. I'd say the following year, I'd be more inclined to go with it. This next year, I wouldn't so much. So
what does that mean? You expect Comrie to come back again on another 1-year deal, Dave?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could definitely see it. I mean, there's a good relationship within the organization. If you can get him to a 1-year deal, I think that maybe, look, Eric Comrie should know what he is at this point. He's a good backup, but he's not going to be a starter in the NHL. And so he's already very comfortable here. He knows the system, works well with Wade Flaherty. Obviously has a great relationship with Connor Hellebuyck, and he could be that stopgap that they need for next year. I'm not suggesting that you don't still go out and explore the goaltending market. I'm just saying I could see that. But going to the point I'm making is that for me, getting DiVincentis his first NHL game and then a few others, and you want to evaluate these guys. You don't want to have to guess, right? Because look, my statement could be completely wrong. Dom could come up or Thomas could come up and they could be fantastic in the NHL. I'm not saying
the way Milic played in, what was it? I want to say it was Carolina.
Yeah,
that's
right. In that third period, it was a tie game.
Yeah, he looked pretty good, Dave, for a couple periods, and then third period it fell apart. But also, you're playing Carolina, right?
Right. No, and Scott O'Neill said, look, the kid came in and we didn't really give him very good games, and he battled, which is what he is. Thomas Milic is a battler. So for me, I would say you got to go and give those guys, similar to what I've said about Lambert and Chibrikov and Parker Ford. And I'm not like give these guys some runway, give them the latitude to say, okay, we're going to watch you at the NHL level and we're going to evaluate you appropriately against NHL competition. So that to me is what I would think of, is that it's an interesting.
Did Dave just freeze?
Yeah, Dave froze.
Okay, Dave just froze mid-thought. I've never seen that happen before, but that's perfect timing. We can replace Dave with somebody a lot better and a lot more articulate.
Boom. Look at him there.
Reynolds.
Look at him there, lost in thought. Jeez.
Just he's thinking in his head, boy, I wish Sean would come on and save me from my rambling explanation right now. That's the thought bubble that we're seeing happen over Dave's head.
I wish Sean was wearing the best vintage Whalers hat I've ever seen. I hope.
Dave has never looked better, never sounded better as far as I'm concerned. To me, you say good morning to Sean Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds, thank you for joining us. Nice to see you, sir. How are things?
I'm doing great. How's everybody doing?
We're doing good. Fine and dandy. Appreciate you jumping on with us, doing double duty. This is the appetizer. You're going to be on with Jamie Thomas a little bit later on.
No morning. Appetizer. It's like having 2 4-course meals. That's what it's like. Don't sell yourself short. This is the best part of my day right here, guys.
Oh, you flatter us. You flatter us so well, my friend. I'll bring you into this conversation we were talking about. I don't know if you heard much about it, but we were talking about Connor Hellebuyck and the post-Olympics plan for Connor Hellebuyck. Mm-hmm. Given that the Jets are, I think it's relatively evident that they're not going to be a playoff team. They're not going to be a playoff threat. Would you, and that from my eye test, I was opining that Connor Hellebuyck doesn't look 100%, doesn't look fully healthy. Safe to assume based after he had the surgery mid-season. Would you consider shutting him down earlier this year after the Olympics? Maybe a little bit later after the Jets are even further eliminated from playoff contention. Would you consider shutting him down to get him back to full health and maybe using this lost season as a way to rest him more for next year, get him ready for next season at this point?
Well, you would be doing that under the presumption that there is something medically or physically wrong with him, which he entirely denies. In fact, he believes that right out of the gate, after taking the 3 weeks off, that was supposed to be, closer to 4 to 6, that he was back physically instantaneously after he walked in that 5-1 win over the Washington Capitals way back in December. I think the optics would be terrible. If I was a season ticket holder and I went under or I took a look and thought, well, what they did was this guy came back from an injury, they rushed him back, and then they kept the pedal to the metal on the goaltender right up until the Olympic break to get him ready for the Olympics so he could play in the Olympics and then come back and not play. I mean, I can't think that I would be happy about the way that played out as a season ticket holder, that, one of the greatest assets on your team was utilized in a manner to get them ready for something that had nothing to do with Winnipeg Jets hockey and everything to do with USA hockey. So I think there would be a little bit of a danger in that. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Connor Hellebuyck would be doing that if that was the case. We ran something on this the other day, and guys, we probably had conversations about this last year. Like, I was, a voice last year that talked about the idea that, when Connor Hellebuyck was doing these things, you'd always have journalists coming from out of town and asking, Rick Bowness when he was here and Scott Arniel now that he's here, if the Jets were just a mirage that was propped up by Connor Hellebuyck. In the last couple of years, my argument had been over and over again, this isn't a thing where Connor Hellebuyck is stealing the show. This is Connor Hellebuyck behind the best armor in hockey. You know what I mean? It's hard to hurt this guy. And the armor has cracked this year. We ran something on our last hockey night in Canada. The Jets are second in the league at allowing screenshots, and about 10th in the league at allowing tipped shots. The degree of difficulty has gone up here. Connor Hellebuyck is facing dangerous shots or confusing shots or hard to see shots in a manner that he hasn't in a really, really long time. So I get what you're saying, and I get the concern. I just don't believe that that's the case. I think this is what Connor Hellebuyck looks like when he doesn't have day at the spa defense in front of him. It's a challenge, and I really don't think that he looks that bad. He looks like there's been a lot of really good goaltenders over the years. Look at the difference between John Gibson for all those years in Anaheim, and then all of a sudden you get him behind a system where at the beginning of the year it didn't work out well, and just had a conversation with his head coach about them finally figuring out what this goaltender needs in front of him. And now he looks like the John Gibson we all used to talk about all those years ago. Good goalies behind teams that aren't defending well, they don't look astounding. They don't look amazing. They're still good goaltenders, but they're having to deal with things where the defense in front of them is just creating high degrees of difficulty. And this is what Connor Hellebuyck, in my mind, looks like behind a high degree of difficulty. And I would say this, Drew, this may, lend to my point, but it actually may take away from my point, depending on when Connor Hellebuyck started feeling bad with his knee. Like, if it happened just before he went for surgery, which is what we are told, then this adds to my case. But Connor Hellebuyck looked very much like what he looks like now for the 5, 6, 7 games before he went for surgery. Like, the Jets weren't doing well. He wasn't getting good results. So to me, this isn't a Connor Hellebuyck was Hart Trophy, got injured, and then hasn't been the same since. Connor Hellebuyck looked like this for the majority of the year before he went for surgery and has continued to look like that after. I think it's a symptom of the team and their loss of their ability to defend the way that they did last year, more than it is Connor Hellebuyck not being himself.
By the way, my favorite part of your answer, I think there was the Sean Reynolds Hellebuyck continuum. I really like that. Maybe we'll get somebody to change their name to Sean Reynolds Continuum. I like that though, Sean. But you made a good point. You talked about the defense in front of Hellebuyck, because as we know, hockey's a team game, and you can look at the individual goalie stats, the goals saved above expected, the save percentage, and clearly Hellebuyck's numbers are down. But the defense in front of him it's been inferior to previous seasons. And that's what I wanted to ask you. And I specifically wanted to ask you about Ilya Salomonson, because, Dave Minuk, nobody has been talking about Salamonson more with the amount that Dave watches the Moose. He's been hyping him up, calling him Dylan Sandberg with a bite, Dylan Sandberg 2.0, right? Like, it looks like they've found a permanent right side defenseman for the foreseeable future. So in a season of so much negativity, right? Luke Shen has been struggling. I mean, obviously Logan Stanley's been a huge bright spot, but what have you been seeing from Salamonson? Because to me, he looks like a guy that, I mean, not only can you play on the right side, he's been playing top 4 minutes, and he's shown that him and Sandberg have something going on.
Yeah, well, the first thing I see is that when Dave talks about prospects coming up, listen to Dave, okay? Because it's Dave,
prospect guru.
Yeah, no, but there's a guy who goes in, he puts in the work, does his homework, and when he's talking about a guy, he's talking about him for a reason. When they come up, and Dave has been saying this guy's going to pop, I usually pay attention, and I usually, operate under the assumption that Dave's got this one right, and I think he's got this one right.
Sean, you should see his Kevin He scouting report.
There you go. Good. I will be tuning in. A player that I thought, I get that in a year of frustration, everyone is like, bring everybody up, put everyone on waivers and bring up the entire Manitoba Moose team, and that will solve all your problems, right? Like, that's the solution for the do something crowd, right? It's not working. Just do something. Okay. You still have to be targeted in how you bring people up and how you manage players, manage their confidence, all these kind of things. I like the way the Jets managed Elias Salamonson in this. They brought him up early. They gave him a taste, enough of a taste to show him that, listen, we think you're right at this level. You're going to be right there. And then there was a couple things that happened early on that I thought could have tested his confidence. I thought that if they would have kept him up at that time, that could have continued to build a little bit here. And then all of a sudden you're wondering, can I make it at this level? And I brought this up on our show the other day. Cole Caulfield had this great interview a little while ago where he talked about remembering sitting in the Canadiens dressing room and wondering if he belonged in the league. And this was after he tore it up with the Canadiens heading to the Stanley Cup, right? Like a guy questioning whether or not he belonged in the NHL.
You belong, Cole. You belong.
Yeah, who clearly does, but people forget that behind these young kids are emotions and confidence issues and all these different kind of things. And I thought the Jets did a good job of bringing up and making him feel like, listen, you belong in this league. Let's just take you down here because we want to see you play 22, 23 minutes a night and really kind of run things down here before we bring you back up. And the next time we bring you back up, you're here to stay. I think he's here to stay. I think he should be here to stay. When you ask me what you see in that player, I see a more dynamic version of Dylan Sandberg. His lateral movement backwards is unbelievable, like eye-popping to me. Like you take a look at great defensemen across the league. This is a guy who could be in the center of the ice and need to close on a guy on the boards, in a position where most guys would be turning around and skating forward to try and beat that guy to the far post. He's got the confidence to do it skating backwards and can close quickly and aggressively. I understand what Dave's saying about bite. I don't know if he and I draw the same conclusions, but the conclusion I draw when Dave talks about him with bite is it's not that he's like a mean punchy in the face kind of guy, but it's just like he's on you all of a sudden and he's in your kitchen and he's not doing it in a way that has any kind of malice. And who knows, maybe he can develop that in his game later, but it's like, I know now if I've got the puck that he's closing in on me and he's getting a piece of me, right? He's not just trying to hold me to the outside. He's going to get a little bit aggressive with me and I'm going to feel that he's playing me. So I think Dave's scouting report is bang on. I think that the Winnipeg Jets, with the trade deadline coming, should be making moves that open up space for him to be one of their guys. The plan for him, in my mind, is now and should be that going forward as they plan heading into the trade deadline. I think what the Jets need to be doing, I think what they are going to be doing, is planning to make their team a better team for next year. And part of that would be clearing the deck for Elias Salamonson to be a full-time constant player in their top 4 if they can get him there.
Sean, the player I want to ask you about is Cole Perfetti. I mean, he's had obviously a very difficult year coming back from what he was dealing with. And from your perspective, I mean, it's a contract year for him. the Jets have to make a decision which way they're going to go. They kind of punted it previously, signing him to the 2-year deal. So from your perspective, how do you think this plays out? Because we're hearing, I mean, again, whether there's validity or not, you're hearing his name a little bit more out there. And again, like I said, I don't know if there's anything to it, but I'm surprised you're hearing his name. And then again, like I said, with that down year, with the contract that he's going to have to sign this summer, how do you see this kind of playing out for Cole Perfetti and the Jets?
Well, I'm not surprised to hear it, because this would be kind of the things that are happening in the background of, if you're talking to the agent, if you're seeing what the agent is expecting. And remember, guys, there was news reports coming from some of our colleagues in Winnipeg who were talking about signing Cole Perfetti to, what was it? It was like a 6-year or 8-year, $6 million contract or something like that, which a lot of people in our media were talking like a really, really smart strategic idea. I thought it was crazy. I thought it was a player who had yet to prove a lot of things, and that I didn't mind that, you talked about it, punting on the idea of, giving it a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting player, because nothing's black and white with Cole Perfetti. Last year, at the beginning of the year, he looked like a player who wasn't going to figure it out. At the end of the year, he looked like a player who figured it out. And then this year looks like a player who forgot what he figured out last year. How do you go about determining a fair number for that player when the player is going to be saying, well, what you saw from me at the very end of last year, I'm the guy who executed the final touch on the Manitoba Miracle, right? Like, I think that this is who I am. And there's probably a part of Cole Perfetti who once you've shown that you've done that, you are that player, and that's what they're going to want. But he hasn't given enough of a runway to get that kind of consistency. And now this is typically the contract where it's like, I've established who I am. Now let's get that long-term contract in there. If it was what happens, I think, in situations where you're hearing about a player's name being floated, is what's happening behind the scenes is the agent and the player are saying, well, we think we're this. And the team is saying, we don't think that you've established that. And so now you have to kind of get to the idea of no one's going to be happy going forward with a contract where, like, someone is going to lose in this. Either Cole Perfetti is going to have to sign a contract that he's going to have to hold his nose and he doesn't like because he hasn't proved enough for the Jets to pay him, or the Jets are going to go ahead and pay him on the idea that he was what he was at the end of last year and that he is going to reclaim that, and there's risk involved with that. So what you're finding is two sides that it isn't working out equally, and sometimes what you got to do in situations like that is find a different team that says, well, we believe in what we saw from him at the end of last year, and we believe we have the pieces to get that out of him. And then the Jets say, okay, well, fine, then what do you have that we could take, that we would have faith in and we could work on? So this is one of those tricky ones. I'm sure Cole Perfetti isn't happy about how his year has gone, especially going into a contract year. And to be honest, I'm sure the Jets aren't happy about it either, because they'd love to have seen Cole Perfetti take what he did at the end of last year and build on it even more. And then that makes it easier for them to plan going forward. I don't think anything is easy to plan right now, because, the big question mark here that has affected not just that line, guys, but this team's ability to come back in games, which was astounding last year and non-existent this year. It's the big fallout of what this team looks like and who gets affected by the loss of Nikolai Ehlers. And Cole Perfetti is front and center on a guy who very much operated in the wake of a very fast speedboat last year that just is not around this year, and he can't surf that wake.
Sean Reynolds is our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. The Jets and the Panthers later on this afternoon. The Illegal Curve post-game show will, of course, be followed by Kenny and Rennie. Their post-game show a little bit later on tonight, as we got you covered front and center, top to bottom, with regard to the Winnipeg Jets. Rennie,
see, Drew, yeah. I would have to go operate under the idea that we were the dessert in that case, right? I want to be the 4-course meal, which is why I said what I did at the beginning of the show. We're just two big meals for people who like to eat. That's what
Kenny and Rennie, Sean, Kenny and Rennie, I would say, are like a pavlova.
You don't even know what a pavlova is.
No idea. Is that like is that like a
I
Pavlov?
know that it's food. I'm thinking it's sweet.
Yeah, it's a dessert, but Lord knows
that's
Ezzy doesn't know what it is.
Drew, you've had a Pavlova in your lifetime. Let's be honest here.
I readily admit that I'm not one to pass up any dessert that's put in front of me. You don't look. You don't get this kind of shaped body without finding a second and third dessert every now and then.
You don't inherit a body like that. You build it, right, Drew?
Exactly. Sean, we just talked about Cole Perfetti. Obviously, we know the struggles this year. Vlad Namestnikov and Nino Niederreiter have also had their struggles. They started hot. It's been misery since November for both of them by and large. They're both under contract for one more year after this year. What of Niederreiter and Namestnikov? If somebody comes and knocks on Kevin Cheveldayoff's door and says, this trade deadline, we need a veteran presence like these guys offer, Is Cheveldayoff listening to those conversations? I mean, we know he's always having conversations and phones are always ringing and things of that nature. But where do you fit in Niederreiter and Namestnikov into the Jets for the remainder of this year and let's say next year as well?
Well, just to back up just slightly, that's the one thing we always know, and the only thing that we know about Kevin Cheveldayoff is that he's having conversations. That's it. That's all we ever.
He knows how to dial
and
out.
He uses it.
He knows how to receive calls in exchange.
We don't know what's being said on them, but he's having those conversations. Namestnikov for me is a little bit of Cole Perfetti, operated with, a superstar winger who had game-changing speed and gets to operate behind that game-changing speed. So Namestnikov with the loss of Nikolai Ehlers, I think it's shown. Nino Niederreiter is a player that I thought played really, really well off the speed that Mason Appleton brought to that line. Like the thing about the Jets and the players they lost, and I've been on the record with this, speed kills, and they lost that speed. And a lot of these players do a really good job of playing off of the chaos that is brought by the speed on their lines. And they lose those speed elements. Mason Appleton was the fastest player on the third line. That was maybe, and I thought, the best third line in the league last year. He's gone. That principal point of contact is gone. The guy who's always rushing the opposition, forcing them into mistakes. Nino Niederreiter is a great player at playing off of that and capitalizing on the mistakes that are made. If the mistakes aren't being made, I don't think he's the player that gets there in time to force those mistakes. He plays really well off those mistakes. So what's going on with those two players is the loss of players that really helped establish the Jets' identity. And really it's, if you're baking a pavlova, you need certain things to make it pop. You need different ingredients. And sometimes if you're missing the most key ingredient, it just doesn't turn out the same way. And that's what's happened with those two players. And guys, we would be crazy if we weren't talking about their age and the potential for regression in those players. I think that we're seeing that. We're seeing that at the age that they're at, they've regressed a little bit. I think you can only expect it going forward. So my take on the whole thing is, if the Winnipeg Jets are trying to, and I think that this is what Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to do. They're going to approach us. They're going to say to us at the end of the year, look, we won the President's Trophy last year. It was a down year. We think we can be back. So they need to reload for next year. The question is, do Vladislav Namestnikov and Nino Niederreiter return to what they were last year next year? Or are they older players that are now 2 years older and not even sure how they play without the key ingredients of the pavlova that are gone in Nikolai Ehlers and Mason Appleton? So for me, this is a no-brainer. If there's real assets that are being offered for players or for teams that think that they can use a Nino Niederreiter in the playoffs or a Vladislav Namestnikov, I think you have to move those players. Now, I say that the tricky part about it is if the Winnipeg Jets are trying to rebuild for next year and they move on from a certain number of players, you can move on from the likes of Luke Schenn because Salamonson is a guy who needs more time, right? You could even move on from a Logan Stanley because you basically have like an established top four and maybe even top five with Salamonson. You should be able to find a way to figure it out. If the Jets start pairing off on the the offensive side of things. So let's say you move on from Nemesnikov, you move on from Niederreiter. Let's say you move on from Jonathan Toews. Someone comes and says, hey, we'll give you this, and it makes a lot of sense. Well, you have to wonder, are you going to have Pearson back next year, and so on and so forth. And now all of a sudden, if you're the Winnipeg Jets and you have 4 to 5 holes in your lineup, the question becomes, can the Winnipeg Jets, a team that rarely builds through unrestricted free agency, can they find enough players out on the market to bring them back to President's Trophy status, fill 5 holes? And part of that is, can you do it on the Moose? And Dave's a good guy to ask about those questions. Do they have the horses to fill three roster spots and come up and not miss a beat and return to being a President's Trophy team? Or are those guys going to have to learn on the fly, and you're going to have to learn with their mistakes, and those mistakes are going to cost you next year? And now there's another year out the window, and your core, who are all turning 33 in a couple months here, Mark Scheifele, Adam Lowry, Connor Hellebuyck, are now, we're looking at them at 35 and then 36, right? So the Jets are in a really precarious position because they should be moving guys out to try and capitalize on guys who are probably going to be aging out anyway, but it leaves behind a hole that you need to address to get a core that needs to win right now, because it's not 3 years from now for Mark Scheifele, because Mark Scheifele is 36 at that time. So the timeline for the Winnipeg Jets is their biggest challenge. Their timeline sucks. Addressing it means you need to get something done almost right now. And the Winnipeg Jets as a market traditionally can't solve right now problems, because you need to do that through unrestricted free agency, which they can't do it, or you need to move it to trade assets, and they've moved too many assets to pull it off like that. They're in a real pickle when it comes to their timeline.
Sean, I want to switch gears a little bit, but you mentioned the player that I want to talk about, Mark Scheifele. Braden Point has not played since January 12th, obviously didn't play against the Jets. His status for the Olympics remain uncertain, to say the least. Right now, as it stands, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. If Braden Point isn't able to go, is it Mark Scheifele? Is it Zach Hyman? Is it Sam Bennett? Connor Bedard? I mean, it's certainly not going to be easy for Scheifele to get on this team. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's Mark Scheifele. And this is one of those things. I know Jets fans are offended by it, and I know that they look at the standings and they look at the stats and they see where he is, and this is, Winnipeg Jets bias, and this is, man, people hate, the country of Canada hates the city of Winnipeg so much that Mark Scheifele does not get a spot on this team. I think Sam Bennett is the biggest snub here. You're talking about the reigning playoff MVP. You're talking about a guy who showed last year that he scored what I thought was the second biggest goal in that tournament. You're talking about a guy who over and over and over again has elevated his game at a time of year that shows that you can expect that there's a question of whether Mark Scheifele is going to elevate in the biggest moments. There has to be, because he hasn't really been there in those moments before, and he's never been the guy to drag the Winnipeg Jets to that spot. Now, give him his flowers for 2018. He was astounding in 2018. That's 8 years ago. And what have you done for me lately comes into this. He was also 25 years old at the time. He's turning 33 now, right? So it's a different thing, right? So Sam Bennett to me is the biggest snub. He's the guy that I'm looking at and I'm thinking, okay, well, if we're going to add in a guy, adding in the reigning, the reigning playoff MVP who's just come off winning back-to-back cups and has been magic in both those cup runs, that's a pretty hard ad to look away from. And then the Zach Hyman thing is hard to overcome as well, because if you can put him alongside Connor McDavid, he does a couple things. There's familiarity that exists there. It's the old Chris Kunitz and Sidney Crosby thing from back in 2014, I believe it was. But the other thing about him, after I covered the Edmonton Oilers in the 3rd and 4th round last year, outside Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, I truly believe that Zach Hyman was the player that the Oilers could not lose last year, because when you've got the magic of Connor McDavid and you're also going to have the magic of Nathan McKinnon and stuff like that, the one thing that Zach Hyman gives you is this very consistent, simplistic type of offense that works at all times. I just go to the front of the net, and as Connor McDavid does his thing with nothing else is working, you just get it to the front of the net. And now I like my chances of Zach Hyman having faster hands and a faster stick than the defenseman that he's going against and banging in that loose puck. So there's a very defined kind of offense that works with that player. Mark Scheifele is just too much of a question mark, and Mark Scheifele goes there, and we don't know necessarily, although they look great with Team North America, he and Connor McDavid. But to me, it's too much of a question mark, and he's a little bit of a victim, or he's written his own story in this. I don't know what Mark Scheifele looks like without Kyle Connor. I know that with Kyle Connor, he looks amazing, but there's no two players in the NHL who've played together more than Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele since 2017. If you're talking about forwards, they've got an unreal chemistry. No one can deny that. But if I'm Team Canada brass, I take a look that Kyle Connor went to the U.S. and he never really clicked with anybody, to the point that they held him out of the most important game of that Four Nations tournament. And I can build a case very easily and say Kyle Connor is an outstanding hockey player, one of the best in the world when he's with Mark Scheifele, but when he's not, we never really found what worked. And that's the problem, is all of these guys on Team Canada have shown examples of, you put me with this guy, I make that guy work. Hey, Tom Wilson, you can say what you want about him making that team. Pierre-Luc Dubois got injured this year, and their 4th line winger in Washington, Justin Sorda, got moved up to the 2nd line center position. And for the majority of the season, Tom Wilson was a point per game player who was right behind Scheifele. He made it work with a guy you shouldn't be able to make it work with. Where's the example of Mark Scheifele being put in a situation where it's like, I don't know if this is going to work, and he takes players and he elevates them to the top? It doesn't exist, because those two players don't play without each other. And because of that, I don't know what they look like away from each other.
Well, that wasn't going to be my direct question, Sean, but I'll pull that into what I'm going to ask you, because once that trade deadline happens, and we presume the Jets are going to move out a number of contracts, veteran contracts. And so to kind of answer your question with asking you back a question, you asked me if there's players that could make an impact next year. Isn't this your opportunity to kind of determine that? Because you can say, okay, Danny Zhilkin, Brad Lambert, Nikita Chibrikov, Parker Ford, we're going to give you 4 forwards, and we're going to give you a run of 20 games. And we're going to get a chance to see you, kind of like if you remember what Nashville did when they made, they kind of depleted their team, brought up a bunch of their guys for the Milwaukee Admirals, and they went on a run. And if you remember, they fell 5 points short or something of that nature, but everyone thought they were done. But my point was, they gave their young kids an opportunity to kind of show them what they've got at the NHL level, because it's all theory. I can watch these guys in the AHL and think, well, okay, at the AHL level, they're X, Y, and Z. I can have Mark Morrison tell me that Danny Zhilkin's a number 1 center in the American Hockey League. But what does that mean when he comes up to the NHL? What does that look like? And I think it's an opportunity for them, and I'm curious about your position, to say, okay, we've moved out 3 guys. Here's the chance to give 3 of these guys a chance to see what we can evaluate them at the NHL level for the remainder of the season.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess the question that we start out is, realistically, and you brought up Danny Zhilkin, number 1 center at the AHL. What do we realistically think his ceiling is in the NHL? And I guess the question that I'm asking basically is, like, do we see that this player, and to the point you're making, sometimes you just bring him up and you see where it goes to, right? Like maybe he just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing, and maybe that happens. I'm trying to think of the player, and I can't off the top of my. I think it's a Svechnikov. There's their 1st round pick from a couple years back. I believe his last name is Svechnikov, with the Nashville Predators, that's a player that they kind of feel like they've lost, right? Like they brought him up, they rushed him up, talked with the head coach. They brought him up earlier than they thought they would have liked to. And it's a prospect that they think that at the NHL level has lost himself, doesn't have the confidence, and they may have lost him entirely.
Svechkov.
Fedor Svechkov. There you go, not Svechnikov. So Fedor Svechkov is a guy that they had high hopes for, that they started out playing in the NHL as a second line center. And the last I covered a game, he was their fourth line center, and he was struggling. I mean, he was.
That's your Jamie Thomas reminder.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so
wake up, Sean.
There's risk to doing that, right?
Yeah.
There's risk to bringing guys up. And even at the end of a dead season, bringing guys up, because you bring them up. And if things don't go well, sometimes in their head, they think, like I said about Cole Caulfield, maybe I'm capped out as an AHL guy. So I would say you always have to mind that risk. And part of that becomes, if Brad Lambert had gone down and torn it up at the AHL, okay, fine, bring him back up. Now, maybe there's a bit of a pout on with Brad Lambert, and that if you brought him back up and gave him top 6 opportunities, maybe he'd fly. I don't like the idea of rewarding a player that has a pout on. But that said, maybe you're just looking for the right thing. And I've also had GMs say to me in the past that there's a lot of players you just can't see what they look like at the AHL level, because they're rhythm players. And in the AHL, that pass isn't quite on your stick and it's in your skates. And there's always little plays by the players around you that slow you down. When those players get up to speed at the NHL level, they actually go from being a 40-point guy in the AHL to a 60-point guy in the NHL, because the NHL is the speed of game that they can play. So I do think that you do that, Dave. I think you're 100% right, and the Jets have to do that. But sometimes what that looks like is leaning more into guys like Parker Ford, who, let's be honest with ourselves, is probably capping out as a fourth liner in the NHL, maybe a third liner or something like that, and leaning on those players a little bit to see if you can get some guys that you know can establish some NHL value, can be used in some of the holes that I talked about, the Nino Niederreiter type holes or the Vladislav Nemeskov type holes if they're left behind. I just think you have to do it in a cautious manner, because you don't want to Fedor Svechkov your players and kind of kill their career before it begins. And let's be honest with ourselves, the Winnipeg Jets have depleted their stores of assets coming into the NHL to a degree that they don't have time or space or the resources to ruin resources. They got to get what they have right here, right now. So yes, you try and do that. You do it with a mind of giving guys opportunities. You also do it with a mind of being very, very conscious that on a team that's probably going to start losing after you let guys go, that the guys who come up understand that losing doesn't have to do with them, and you don't lose guys on the path.
Sean Reynolds is off to join Jamie Thomas. Sean, we appreciate you for joining us this morning. Thanks so much for your insight. Thanks so much for your analysis. Remind JT that we still haven't been invited on to his program, despite him being invited on to ours many times before.
Well, I'll tell you this, guys. I love being on the show. I want to thank you. If you appreciate my stop here, like maybe a Pavlova sometime, so I can know what we're talking about.
I was going to say,
once I figure out what that is.
Well, here, Tree G88, because our chat always comes through, says a Pavlova is made with egg white and sugar, topped with whipped cream and fresh fruit. So when the season's over, the four of us will all go have Pavlovas together and talk about the year that was.
I'll come for
lock it in. Lock it in. This is happening. The audience, Kenny likes to check receipts. This is a receipt I'm going to carry around with me.
Well, Sean, let's turn it into an IC Kenny and Rennie special.
There you go. We all sit around and have Pavlovas together. It's
I don't know what Kenny and Rennie bring to the table. I don't know, but you guys bring the Pavlova.
Appetites.
We'll bring the bad takes.
Kenny brings the best music in the business, Sean.
There you go.
Kenny's just going to eat all the Pavlovas. We know what his appetite's like. That's the problem. Is
we've been out for dinner. We've been out for dinner with Kenny. We know what that looks like.
Yeah, it's ugly for everybody involved. Sean, thank
you. Including my shirt, for the record. 2014 draft. I'm still waiting for him to fix that one, Sean.
Sean, thanks, bud.
See you guys. Thanks for
having us.
Sean Reynolds joining us this morning. Always
fun to catch up. Wouldn't it be great if I was wearing the shirt that Kenny ruined at the 2014 draft?
You still have it. Do you just stare at it? Do you just look at it and just
I see.
Be honest, Dave. Do you actually still have that shirt?
It was brand new when I wore it at the draft, and Kenny ruined it. 2014
Wasn't
draft.
wasn't it red wine? That he
Red
spilled?
wine.
Yeah.
Kenny
It
wanted the
was
fancy wine.
12 years ago. We can take up a fund to buy Dave a new
Oh,
shirt.
I bought subsequent shirts, Drew. It's not a function of that. I've got many a shirt, but that's not the point. Kenny
point
ruined
is,
it.
you see, the point is, revenge is a
Oh, I'll be
dish
wearing that
best
shirt
served
one day.
very, very cold.
I'll be like, you remember this shirt, Kenny? You remember this shirt? I do.
that'll be your
Right.
departure from the
Triggered,
sports
triggered.
media landscape. You
I'll just
beating up
I'm
Ken,
gonna give-
choking him
I-
out with that
Yeah,
shirt.
I'm gonna give him I'll give him like a stunner, a stone cold stunner. I'm gonna walk up to Kenny in the press box, just give him a stunner.
Just drape the shirt over his carcass and say, "This is what you deserved 12 years ago." We'll go to break. Commercial-free hour number 1. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. More Jets talk coming your way. Michael Amato from Sportsnet at the bottom of the hour as well.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth. Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca. For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
This January, it's Pasta Tuesday every day at Boston Pizza. Our pastas start at just $11.99 all month long. Create your own or go gourmet for a little extra. Plus, the deal continues every Tuesday all year. Hungry for saucy savings? Hungry for BP.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Saturday morning, Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Big thanks to Sean Reynolds. Always fun. It's been too long, as Rennie and I were just texting. It's been too long since we last got together with him, so it was great to catch up with him this morning. Always an insightful conversation here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by our friends at Play Now. As you all know, Play Now wants to send you and a guest to Toronto for a triple header to see the Raptors, the Jays, the woeful Leafs all in one epic getaway. Learn how to enter at playnow.com, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. I am a small, petty man, as we've discussed previously here on the show, so I do take more than a small degree of pleasure in watching the Maple Leafs flounder alongside the Winnipeg Jets. I have to find solace where I can, and that is one area that I find solace. You know,
I don't think you're the only one, Drew. Like, wow, that 7-4 loss to Buffalo. How degrading was that after you lose 6-3 to Vegas in the Mitch Marner game?
How about the 5-2 loss to Seattle on Thursday night?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad losses.
There is a lot of bad losses there, but we need not discuss them because this is not, as the saying goes, Leafs lunch. So we'll get back to the Winnipeg Jets, where they are expected to make a lineup move or two for tonight's contest. It sounds like old friend Gus Nyquist is going to rejoin the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets, and there is some shuffling of the lines as well. Connor Scheifele, Iafallo back together after a brief stint apart, where Velarde got the bump up. And then a second line, which is relatively new. I don't know if we've seen this trio together, of Perfetti, Lowry, and Gabe Velarde. A third line, or however you want to number them, of Niederreiter, Taves, and the Mesnikov. Speed not going to be the name of the game for that line, that's for sure. And then a fourth line of Cole Koepke, Morgan Barron, and Gus Nyquist. So Nyquist returning on the fourth line. The defensive pairings stay the same, given the Jets don't really have anyone else healthy, notwithstanding Isaac Phillips being on the road trip. And the expectation is that Connor Hellebuyck gets the start and goal tonight, with Eric Comrie as the backup. So let me ask you guys this. I mean, yes, a lot of it is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, and a lot of it is throwing.
How much does Drew love that line, by the way, Dave?
Even Real Spency likes it. He literally threw that in there before Drew's comment.
Hold on, Drew. Are you just stealing Spency's lines?
I'm not, to be perfectly honest, because I said it almost simultaneous. I didn't even see.
In fact, Drew, you actually said it before Spency.
Check the timestamp, Dave.
Dave just timestamped it. Dave gave me the props. He said Drew is safe on this one.
Yeah.
It is, a well-known expression, of course, so I can't pretend as though I've invented it myself.
I'm pretty sure Mike McIntyre's copywritten that one, but go on.
Yeah, Mike likes that one as well. You like Dear Mama on social media. Mike likes the rearranging of the deck chairs on the Titanic. Mike heading off to Italy is very shortly, so that'll be an exciting trip for him, where he's covering the Winter Olympics. But back to these lines for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. Is it just might as well try something at this point in time? Is that basically where we're at? I mean, I just Niederreiter, Taves, and the Mesnikov to me just seems like it's too slow.
Yeah, well, essentially what you've done is you've just flipped Lowry and Taves. We've already seen Iafallo up on the top line, so that's nothing new. And then what you're seeing is Nyquist come in, and boys, is this going to be Nyquist's first goal of the season here? Because he's still stuck on 0 goals in I think 33 games. So
why would you expect that?
No, I asked the question, Drew. I didn't predict it. I didn't give a Ginsburg guarantee.
I was going to say, but it makes you look, Ezzy, if he does though, then you get to point to the show and be like, guys, I did talk about it. So
exactly, and that's that's what I want, Dave.
Yeah, so, you gave yourself a little room there.
Yeah, the Lowry's played with Perfetti before. I don't think he's played a lot with Velarde, but that line's intriguing to me. I agree with Drew. The Taves, Mesnikov, Niederreiter line, like to me, that just seems like a mishmash of players. Like it doesn't really. I don't really know. Like they're slow. I don't know how much offense you're going to get out of the line. Like how are you going to use that line would be my question, because we know how Scott Arniel and previously Rick Bowness and Paul Maurice like to deploy the Lowry line, right? Like the Lowry line is your shutdown line, sometimes used as a second line. I don't know.
That line has played 2 minutes and 10 seconds together at 5-on-5 so far this season. So, I mean,
which line?
The Mesnikov, Taves, and Niederreiter. So they've played 2 minutes and 10 seconds this season.
So what you're saying is that it's a small sample size.
But they have broken even. They've had 2 shot attempts for and 2 shot attempts against in their 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
So you're saying there's a chance, but
sure, why not?
Yeah, I like I said, I mean, to your point earlier, Drew, your question, like things weren't going really well in that third period against Tampa Bay. So why not switch it up? Like, why not pull the blender out? And we know that Iafallo can go up there and play on the top line. We know that Velarde has had some success with Perfetti, right? So the one thing that I don't love is, like, I thought Morgan Barron was one of the best forwards against Tampa Bay. And I thought maybe he deserved a bump up, like maybe to this third line, right? Like, I'd like to see that maybe, as opposed to Taves centering the third line. Like, I just don't know, guys, if any of these changes are necessarily going to result in, are going to produce the results that we want to see, right? So, like I said, I'm interested to see how Lowry, Perfetti, and Velarde does. Maybe you've got something there, but the other lines, Nyquist, bringing Nyquist up, that doesn't excite me. Like, I don't think like, to me, Nyquist and Pearson, like, those guys are interchangeable. I've loved watching Cole Koepke. Like I've said, I've advocated. I think Cole Koepke's a guy that, I think deserves another contract with the Jets. I think he's been a really good fourth liner. He's been producing some offense lately, right? Some goals. So we'll see what happens. The Jets, look, they're basically out of it, and we'll see what they can do against Florida, because I expect a desperate Florida team. This Florida team is getting to the point where they're going to be out of the playoff race. They're 8 points back or 7 points back. Mm-hmm. But with the talent they have on that roster, they're going to keep going. They're going to keep trying to win hockey games, right, Dave? So yeah, we'll see what happens in this afternoon's game. But I'm not surprised at all that Scott Arniel went to the line blender.
Well, and he alluded to the idea, but he didn't expand on it yesterday in the media availability he had in a question response to Kenny, was because Ken basically said, "Oh, you moved Lowry up to that second line," and he just kind of laughed and he said, "Yeah, I've got some things I'm anticipating, so that's the reason why I made that move." Didn't expand on it, but obviously he's expecting something, which is why he felt that he wanted to have Lowry up on that second line. So, like I said, there's maybe he shares his thoughts post game as to why he made that move, but at this point you can say it's rearranging the deck chairs, but ultimately, until they move out the players that we think that they're going to move out, this is the team the Jets have, and they're going to have to try and figure out some sort of way they can get this group going. And so, yeah, I mean, sure, it doesn't really look super inspiring, but I mean, remember, boys, after going 5-1-1, sure, they're 1-2-1 now in their last 4 games. And this team, well, I'm just saying, like, they had a bit of a run, and you thought, okay, if they could maintain this, it's right, we're having a different conversation, but they didn't, and they haven't. And so we're now having the conversation we're having, but there's no point in talking about bringing guys up because they're not. I mean, look, we've seen Neil Pionk skating a little bit.
That'll be after the Olympic break, I think.
That's what I'm saying.
They're not. But from now until next Wednesday, after the Wednesday game against the Habs. By the way, we're at City Place Wednesday afternoon for a special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, talking about the Jets and the Habs before the Olympic break. They're just. I mean, they're trying to win the games. There's no question about it, but they're going through the motions by and large tonight, Monday in Dallas, Wednesday against Montreal. And because everyone knows that changes are afoot quickly after the Olympic break.
Mm-hmm. But the only thing I would say, and I would advocate is it time now when you look at that group to say, I mean, remember, we know that Scheifele and Connor are the sort of drivers of that first line offensively, and that, his concerns as expressed is that, listen, like, we can't really afford to not have them going, because if they suddenly lose what they're going when you separate them, then that's a problem. But I look at it and I think to myself, well, is it as like, it's kind of what I want to talk to Sean about, because Sean was, expressing how Connor and Scheifele have played, the most minutes since was 2017-18 together of any sort of pairing, forward pairing. But you look at it and you think, okay, well, is now the time to finally switch things up and get those guys on separate lines? Let them be drivers. I mean, look, you're paying Kyle Connor $12 million next year.
My question would be, though, what's the point of that?
The point of it is to see, like, remember,
like, you haven't done that through 54 games. Like, why are you doing that now?
Well, I think it's Jets roster today. Sorry. I think you look at the Jets roster for tonight's game.
Yeah.
The top 6 are 6 players who I think are going to be on the Winnipeg Jets next season.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom 6, I would still expect Morgan Barron to be on the Jets next year, but the bottom 6 are guys that you're not sure how many of them are going to be on the Jets next season.
Isn't Morgan Barron under contract for one more year?
Yes. So I would conclude Barron in the top list.
But he's not going anywhere.
Well, I mean,
I wouldn't threw Barron into the last show.
There's no reason to think Morgan Barron won't be back this year. I mean, he's been great. He's been one of the Jets' best forwards.
You're right. I would expect him to be a member of the Winnipeg Jets next year. But I think that your 6 key forwards for next year are in the top 6 of your lineup for tonight's game. The bottom 6 are guys who are not your key with, and again, maybe take Morgan Barron out of that conversation for now. But the bottom 6 of the Jets are guys whose futures with the Winnipeg Jets are very much in question for the 26-27 season.
What's the point you're making? I'm confused.
The point I'm making is that I think that's, Scott Arniel wants to see that the top 6 establish itself as the driving force for this Winnipeg Jets team for now into the rest of this year
I mean,
and
Drew,
into the future.
I mean, the reality is I like Alex Iafallo, but Alex Iafallo on a Stanley Cup team is not on your top line.
No
It's
question.
just so what I'm saying is that that's great, but I mean,
you expect he's going to be on the Jets next year. He's going to play a role
I'm
on
not
the
saying
Jets next year.
I'm not saying otherwise.
The
but what
bottom six guys, you don't know if they're going to be playing a role on the Jets next year.
Yeah,
that whole bottom six, aside from Barron, could be gone.
That's what I'm saying. Those five forwards there could be gone.
It's almost a guarantee that half of those guys will be gone.
Sure.
I mean, like Gus Nyquist, Tanner Pearson, like
Pearson's not even in the lineup tonight.
But I'm just throwing Pearson in there because he's on an expiring contract. Like Pearson most likely is gone. Nyquist is most likely gone. The key guys that the Jets have relied on in previous years that just haven't had the offense this year, Nemesnikov and Niederreiter, you have to think that those guys, there's a potential that at least one of those guys might be moving on, right, Dave? Yeah. So I mean, this.
I see people asking about Koepke. Koepke's a UFA, so might he be back? He certainly might be back, but
I could definitely see them bringing him back for sure.
Yeah, but he's a UFA right now. He's scheduled to be an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, he's not under contract for next year. So to the conversation.
But but if we're talking about guys like expectations for players, to me, Koepke has met or exceeded the expectations that you'd expect from a fourth line guy. As opposed
with speed and the ability to kill penalties.
Well, and what I've always said about Koepke is that, like you said, Dave, he plays PK, which is significant. But what I've always said about Koepke is like he's one of those guys that just has a motor that doesn't stop. Like I just love how he works hard every shift. He's got a physical element to his game, and he's got a scoring touch, right? Like he's shown us that.
No reason not to consider bringing him back into your lineup. I mean, he hasn't done any. He should have been more of a regular in the lineup, to be perfectly honest, than the number of games.
Well, he also scored. He also scored 0 goals in his first 17 games. So I mean that doesn't help. But I mean, but he had 5 in his last 20.
With the rest of the team.
Well, that's what I mean. But he's also got 5 in his last 20. So I mean, he's started to figure it out. And I would bring Koepke back. I don't think that's a question mark for me. I'd give him a deal and let him fight out for a spot next year. All I'm saying is that you when Kyle Connor was injured and we saw Ehlers up with Scheifele last year. Was it last year or the year before?
Ask me a difficult question. I think it was the year before, but I think it was 2 years ago now, but let me look it up.
It doesn't matter. But the fact is that we saw that Connor and Scheifele did. And remember, we talked about the whole idea of muscle memory, and that line was working really well. And then folks freaked out because Ehlers was when Connor was
he played 82 games last year. Connor did. So
So it's the year he played 65. So it was the year before. So anyway, so the fact is that you've got I'm just saying that it doesn't hurt you at this point. And I've been advocating. I know that folks are low on Cole Perfetti, but I would just give him an opportunity to play with a guy like Kyle Connor. I just think that with his intelligence and Connor's speed, you're going to be able to see a little bit of something. But like I said, I don't make the coaching decisions, Ezzy. I just give you my opinion as to what they are.
No, I don't think that's a ridiculous question. My question would be to respond to you is why hasn't that been done before? Right? Like we're 54 games into the season. Why hasn't it been done yet? I don't think it'll happen. And I do think if you break up, I mean, you're talking about two different things. You're talking about Perfetti playing on the Scheifele-Connor line, and then earlier you were talking about breaking Scheifele and Connor up. I'm talking about breaking Scheifele and Connor up. Yeah, sure. Put Perfetti on the Scheifele-Connor line, Dave. Like why not?
Yeah. I just think one, you can get Perfetti going a little bit. You can see what he is capable of doing with some drivers in theory. But like I said, you say, what's the point? Well, the point is, as I said, you're paying Kyle.
I was talking about that breaking Scheifele and Connor up. That's
no. I mean, that's what I'm going to get to is that you're paying Kyle Connor $12 million next season. That's money that's a guy who should be able to drive his own line without the requirement of Mark Scheifele. So can he drive a line? Well, we don't know because they've played together consistently for the entirety of their careers. So I guess what I think
the bigger question though, Dave, is who is Scheifele passing the puck to, and who's going to be.
So throw Velarde and Scheifele. Throw Velarde and Scheifele and Iafallo. I don't know. I'm just saying, it doesn't really make a difference at this point.
Not a very good line though. With that's the point. You're diminishing one line to give it to another line. That's why I don't think. I'm not saying that.
I agree with Ezzy, which is really a scary thought for me.
Well, I'm just saying that I think there's a reason why they haven't broken those two guys up, and it's because they play so well together.
Exactly. If it again. everyone's, and I understand your perspective, Dave, and I see where you're, and I
Drew,
see
let me
where
just
you're
finish
coming from.
This is just my last thought, and then you guys can go ahead and deal with it and tear it up. I don't, like I said, it's just my opinion.
And then we can pilfer you.
Are you leaving the show like after?
No, I'm
this
just
thought,
gonna. I want to get my final thought out, which is
Okay.
just, I think what I was gonna say is this season that remains is about discovering what you need to know for next year. I mean, that's kind of the theme that you've mentioned, that we've talked about. I just think that we have to say, like, as he's right, they haven't done it to this point in the season. Scott O'Neill has expressed why he hasn't done it, but ultimately, when you know this team no longer is a playoff team, I just think it's a time to say, okay, we know that we don't have it. We're not going to make it this year. We're going to make some changes. Let's figure out all sorts of different capabilities. Let's treat this like a science experiment for the remainder of the season to kind of figure some things out for next year, because what you don't want to have is next year is anything that's going to be a similar type of problem. So that's all I'm saying.
You know, it's funny. You know, I go back to what Sean said, that, you know, if you're subtracting all these guys from your roster for next year, then the Mesnikovs, the Niederreiters, maybe Taves, you know, all the guys who either have 1 year left on the deal or pending unrestricted free agents, the guys who've struggled this year, you know, I still think Cole Perfetti is going to be, I think he signs a multi-year contract probably this offseason. You know, both.
How many years though does he get?
I think he probably gets 2 or 3.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I think. I think it's going to be shorter term.
I do. I mean, I can't be anything longer. I mean, I don't think. And it's going to be a
doesn't
difficult contract to hammer out.
Take him to free agency though?
No, one takes him to free agency. He's a UFA after next season.
I don't know, Dave, about that. I don't know if you want to. Yeah, I don't know.
What are you going to do?
I mean, you can't really sign him to.
No, he's not getting.
Sorry, Ezzy, I'm wrong. One takes him to. He's RFA after this year. I apologize. I missed
it's 2.
He's 3 years away from. He's got after this year. He would have 2 years before, or 3 years before hitting UFA status.
Okay.
So I mean, but
it's not a great position for Perfetti to be in. It's not a great position for the Jets to be in.
Right. I mean, that's the problem, is that this is a guy who is about to be an RFA after this year, and you still don't know what he is. You know, is this year an anomaly because of the injury, and he's closer to the player that he was last year?
I'm a big Perfetti backer. Dave knows that, and I know Dave's been watching him since the bubble with the Manitoba Moose, right, Dave?
Yeah.
So I'm a big Perfetti believer. I do think that this year, I don't know if I would say an anomaly, but I think that the injury.
So maybe it's a 1 year deal. Maybe it's just a 1 year sort of qualifying offer deal, where if he proves it, then the Jets sign him to a longer term deal. I mean, maybe that's what it is. There's no.
I think at this point you have to look at it like that, Drew. To be honest with you, because I don't see how. I really don't think you have another choice. I mean, he hasn't proven anything,
right?
And I will be the first person to say that the injury has, you know, really put him behind the 8 ball, right? As if everybody starts at the same spot in the race, well, Perfetti is well behind everyone else. So. Yeah, I just think that you have to give him another prove it year, and then you can kind of, if he can prove it, you can say, okay, this was out. We'll give it to you based on this. If not, well, then you really have some tough decisions to make.
Well, I mean, I do think that Sean was, you know, when he was on with, you know, 30 minutes ago with us, and talking about how if you subtract all these players from the Jets roster, you got to backfill them somehow. And it's a question mark if there's anybody with the Moose who's ready to backfill those positions. And at the same time, this Jets team is not a team that typically can go and be an active free agency team to backfill it that way. So a bit of a rock and a hard place, a bit of a difficult conundrum faces the Winnipeg Jets when it comes to all of these roster decisions moving forward. We'll come back on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show and be joined by Michael Amato from Sportsnet. Don't go anywhere. More Jets talk, more hockey talk Saturday morning. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. We're live with the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, Make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca. For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
This January, it's Pasta Tuesday every day at Boston Pizza. Our pastas start at just $11.99 all month long. Create your own or go gourmet for a little extra. Plus, the deal continues every Tuesday all year. Hungry for saucy savings? Hungry for BP.
Bottom of hour number 2, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show continues. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. We remind you after the Jets and the Panthers later this afternoon, right around 5:40 p.m. Central Time, it's going to be the Illegal Curve post-game show, talking about everything that happens deep in southern Florida. The Jets looking to get a victory after dropping their game on Thursday to the Tampa Bay Lightning. We welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show Michael Amato from Sportsnet. Michael, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
No problem, gentlemen. How's it going?
We're doing fine and dandy. Thanks so much for giving us your time on this Saturday morning. Lots to talk about. Not all of it good, especially when you consider the two sort of, the Edmonton Oilers are doing their thing for Canada here, but two of the most disappointing teams in the NHL certainly have to be our Winnipeg Jets here in Peg City, and in Toronto, that would have to be the Maple Leafs. From your perspective, between the Jets and the Leafs, which of the two are more disappointing given the season that they're having?
Well, maybe I'm biased because I live in Toronto and I grew up a Leafs fan, but I'll say the Leafs. But no, I would say, obviously, there's a good argument for the Jets as well, considering they won the President's Trophy a year ago. But I think it just goes to show you during this season, it doesn't take much for things to snowball in the wrong direction. I think both teams have had a couple key injuries, got off to a little bit of a slow start, and it's really, really hard to make up ground here this season. It feels like there's a lot of dominant teams and a lot of teams that are kind of in that mushy middle. And the Leafs have definitely struggled over the past couple weeks, and it just feels like Buffalo never loses, Boston never loses, Montreal never loses. I'm sure you guys feel that way with Colorado, Minnesota, and Dallas in the Central as well. So yeah, it's definitely been a tough year, tough sledding for those two teams.
Let's just pause a moment and sort of wrap our brains around the idea and the concept and the statement you just made about Buffalo never losing.
Yeah, I know,
did you ever think we would be in that position where the Buffalo Sabres are a team that is a juggernaut? They're a wagon. They're a train. 7-2-1 in the last 10, 5 in a row, and they're certainly in the mix for the Atlantic Division. Remarkable turnaround for the woeful Buffalo Sabres.
They're good. I watched them against the Leafs last week, and I watched them last Saturday against the Islanders, and yeah, they're a good team. It wouldn't shock me I can't believe I'm saying it, but it wouldn't shock me if they ended up winning the division. Like, they're just such a good team. They're getting goaltending. It's weird. Like, some of these teams that rebuild, it feels like they've been bad forever, but then all of a sudden, just like overnight, it feels like they're just good. Like Detroit, I think, is in a similar spot. Like, Detroit looked really good to me too, but just watching them in the Atlantic with Ottawa and Montreal for like 6-7 years kind of be all in the basement, all of a sudden it just looks like a switch is flipped, and these teams look really good. Like, Buffalo's looks big to me, fast. Their D is skilled. They can all move the puck. They're getting saves. Like, yeah, they're a wagon right now.
Yeah, Michael, not since Michael Pekka and Dominik Hasek have the Sabres looked this good, right? And I just wanted to stick with the Leafs, because obviously we're about a month away from the trade deadline, just over a month away, about 5 weeks away. And a lot of the talk here is focused on what the Jets are going to do prior to the trade deadline. A lot of fans obviously want, some of these guys on expiring contracts. And I wanted to get to your Friday for Sportsnet.ca, because you wrote about Winnipeg's Mark Stone deserving some Hart Trophy consideration. And I thought that was really interesting. And I think you make some very convincing points when you look at, 53 points in 37 games for Mark Stone. But I wanted to ask you about Oliver Ekman-Larsson, because as you know, the Leafs defense, I mean, it's just been a nonstop kind of revolving door. Lots of guys injured right now. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's been that bright spot for the Leafs. Like, do you see them trading him? Like, is as far as like the vibe check and the temperature of Leafs fans right now, are they kind of hoping that the Leafs make more moves and start to look towards next season?
I think so. I think Leaf fans are really embracing a sell here. I think for a couple reasons. Like, number one, if you look at Ekman-Larsson, like, I don't think anyone would argue that he's been Toronto's best defenseman this year. I think the challenge is he's going to be 35 in the summer. There's lots of contending teams that would probably pay a good price to get a defenseman at the deadline. So his value's never going to be on. And again, I think it depends what's out there, but I think if someone's offering you first for Oliver Ekman-Larsson, you just have to do it. Like, doesn't matter how much you like the guy or how good he is. You got to really consider it. But yeah, they've got a number of pieces, right? Like, Bogdan McMahon looks really good this year. He's a really fast skater. He might get 25 goals. Like, he's a UFA in the summer. Like, I know Edmonton's kind of been whispering around him, like they might have some interest. He's from there. Scott Lawton too needs a new contract. What could he get on the open market? So yeah, I think like this team, they have to look at those things. They definitely need, I don't know. I feel like we've used every R word out there: retool, rebuild, revamp, renovate the roster in Toronto over the past couple of weeks, but they need something like that, because this team is they have some high-end talent. They've been getting good goaltending for the most part, not lately, but they have some good young goalies. So that's kind of half the battle. If you just kind of can upgrade those middle pieces, I think it would really help them. And I think everyone can kind of look at the Bruins as a blueprint for that last year. They were kind of in this spot where it didn't look like they were going to make the playoffs. They move out some older pieces. They get a couple firsts back, and they got Fraser Minton from Toronto, who suddenly looks like a phenomenal two-way center all of a sudden, which, Leaf fans aren't too happy about. But yeah, he looks great there. They got another couple, like Kuznetsov is playing in their top 9, who they got at the deadline last year. So you have to get some young players too, right? And if you want to flip kind of your team in a year, you've got to get a couple young guys you can put in there immediately next year. And yeah, I think maybe the Jets are kind of in a similar boat where they have, some high-end talent on the top line, and they have a good goalie. So maybe you look to sell a few pieces, try to flip some of those guys around and try to make the roster better for next year.
Well, Michael, if Oliver Ekman-Larsson is traded, hopefully he doesn't flip the middle finger on his way out.
Yeah, that would not be good. Yeah.
And Michael, let's go away from teams that are looking to sell. And this is a team we may have thought would have been in that category. You wrote about them in your Sunday Overreactions column, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
And they've now just continued to win since you wrote that one. They've now won 5 in a row. The playoffs are always better when Sidney Crosby is in them.
Yes.
And is this causing Kyle Dubas now to say, I have to give this kid one more opportunity, even though his thought process might have been to try and retool, rebuild, however you want, whatever R word you want to use, the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Before you answer that, Michael, let me just update our audience. Chris Letang has been placed on injured reserve. This happened about 20 minutes ago. He's going to miss the next 4 weeks with a fracture in his foot. So, I mean, Chris Letang has obviously been through plenty of battles on that Pittsburgh blue line over the years. He's going to be out of the Penguins lineup for the next month with a fractured foot. That just coming out within the last 20 or so minutes.
It's fine, Drew. He'll be back for the playoffs.
Just giving the information so that everybody has a full spectrum of knowledge.
Yeah, well, I think as far as the Penguins go, I think obviously, even if you're not a Penguins fan, you probably still want to see Sidney Crosby play playoff games. It's kind of amazing where they're at, given all the talk in the summer was, hey, maybe will the Penguins trade Crosby this year? And now it feels like, man, he might get another chance with them. But I was kind of looking at their upcoming draft picks. I think they could actually add a piece or two and not really destroy their rebuild. I think they have 8 second-round picks over the next 4 drafts.
That's
and then
correct.
7 third-round picks over the next 4 drafts. So you could you could trade one of those for something. Obviously, you're not getting like Artemi Panarin or anything like that, but you could, add a defenseman or add a middle 6 forward just to give them a little bit of help. Shockingly, Stuart Skinner looks like a different goalie there. Maybe just a little bit of the pressure off, and he's been playing great for them. And yeah, but if you look at their blue line, I think they're a little bit thin once you get to the second and third pairs. So maybe they want to add something there, or a middle 6 forward. But they're such a funny team because I think they brought in a lot of players with the idea, like Anthony Mantha or Brazo. I think their idea was, hey, let's try to flip these guys at the deadline, and those guys are having good years for them. And now there may be guys you're going to hold on to. So yeah, it's interesting, but I think they could still add a piece or two and not really kind of throw themselves too off course with a rebuild. And I guess Kyle Dubas has also done a pretty good job of just adding some younger guys that are playing in the lineup now. Like Chinnikov looks pretty good there. So I think they can add a piece and not kind of disrupt what they're doing too much.
Illegal Curve Hockey Show continuing on this Saturday morning. Sorry, had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. Sticking in the East there, Michael. I mean, all the talk this year has been about, at least the start, has been about the Colorado Avalanche and how great they were to begin the year. And naturally, they're going to take their foot off the gas a little bit. Are we paying enough attention to just how good the Tampa Bay Lightning are? I mean, they absolutely just whipped the Jets on Thursday night. Just, reminded them just how far of a gap there is between, the Jets where they aspire to be this year and where Tampa Bay currently is. From your perspective, is Tampa Bay getting the attention and the respect that they deserve for just how impressive they've been this season, especially over the last 20, 25 games?
Probably not. They're really good, and maybe it's just a little bit of Lightning fatigue because they're always kind of in the playoffs. They're always at the top of the division. And they've been, I don't know, in Toronto, we're complaining about injuries. Tampa's been, I think, injured more than anyone. Like Hedman and Point have been out of the lineup for a while, and they just keep rolling. Like
we just got McDonough back after missing 6 weeks.
McDonough too. Chernak was out for a while. If you look at their defense core, I mean, you got to go to Hockey DB to figure out who half these guys are, and they're just plugging them in and rolling. And credit to them for really kind of building a minor league system and having guys that they feel comfortable just calling up and playing and giving them specific roles to handle. And they're doing a good job of it. But yeah, you look at that roster and it's just like, how are they winning, night in and night out? And they've just been on a roll too. Obviously, Vasilevsky's having a really good year. I kind of think the fact that Tampa's gone out early in the last few playoffs has kind of helped him kind of recharge a bit and not, play so deep into the summer and kind of wear down. I think you're seeing that with like Bobrovsky a little bit this year, just all that extra hockey that they've played over the course of the last few years kind of wearing on him. So Vasilevsky's been, I think, really, really good for them this year, bailing them out. But yeah, no, they're an excellent team. Like I was actually looking at the standings yesterday, and I think the Lightning in Minnesota are now within 7 points of the Avalanche because the Avalanche have kind of cooled off a tad. So yeah, like they're definitely one of the best 5 teams in the league.
And the Hurricanes and the Stars are right behind them, only 8 points back. I mean, you can see the top teams are clearly established. The mushy middle is pretty established, and then the bottom feeders are pretty established this season.
Yes, no, there's a lot of it is a lot of that mushy middle, and in the Eastern Conference. nobody really seemed out of it a week ago, and now there's a little bit of separation. But yeah, there's in the West, it felt like, Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota were just so far above everyone for a long time. It's just been a weird year with the standings.
I agree with that. It definitely has been a weird year. Lots of parity, and you're right, Michael. It's starting to separate in both conferences, the haves and the have-nots, if you will. I mentioned your Friday 4 column, and I got to recommend it. You do an excellent job for Sportsnet.ca. To me, it's must read, as well as your Sunday column as well. And I mentioned Winnipeg's Mark Stone. Anytime you write about a Winnipegger, we're going to ask you about him, right?
Yeah.
And we mentioned earlier, he's got the 53 points in 37 games. Everybody knows how good of a two-way forward Mark Stone is, Selke candidate. And you write in the column that, I mean, it's absurd to think anybody aside from Connor McDavid. I mean, he's got 94 points already.
Yeah.
It's the end of January. Like, just think about that for a second.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So I realize McDavid, McKinnon, Kucherov, those guys are most likely, going to be the finalists, or at least 2 of those 3 guys are going to be finalists. But the one stat that you mentioned in the article is the thing that impressed me the most, is the points per 60. The only 3 players that have a higher points per 60 than Mark Stone are Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, and Nikita Kucherov. He's factored in I think you said 83% of his team's goals, which is number 1 in the NHL. Like, I guess just what made you want to write about Mark Stone? And I guess you make a pretty good point. He is, even though he's missed 16 games, he's having a very special season for the Golden Knights.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to, I was just kind of looking up different things. And, if you're looking at stats this year on a per game basis, like Stone is in the top 5 of everything. And he's right there, with McDavid and Celebrini and McKinnon and Kucherov. So I just kind of dove into it. And I think Stone has a point in 32 of his 37 games, which is the highest.
So it's actually 86%. I said 83.
Oh yeah.
Makes it even more impressive.
Yeah. So he's been doing phenomenal. And I kind of looked at is there any precedent for somebody winning the Hart, playing, in 65 games or something like that. And Lemieux's done it twice. He won it in 93 playing 60 games, but he led the league in scoring that year. So it's not a great comparison, because Stone is not going to catch those other guys. But yeah, like you said, I kind of led off the article saying he's definitely not going to win the Hart, but there's kind of a case to be made that maybe he's 5th or 6th on some people's ballots if he doesn't miss another game this year. Although it's Mark Stone, he probably will at some point. But yeah, no, he's just having a really good season. And yeah, I just try to write. I've kind of learned being as a young writer, when I first started, I was always trying to write stuff that just a little bit different. Try to figure out something that's going to stand out a little bit more, because there's so many talented writers out there. So how do you differentiate yourself? How do you find a topic that's interesting, but also not clickbait? Because, if you just write Connor McDavid is good at hockey, I mean, who's going to want to read it? Right. So you gotta look for some interesting
Well, if
stuff.
you were writing it, I would read it, just for the record.
I appreciate
such a nice guy.
Michael, I want to ask you about a team that their direction is so confusing, is the New York Rangers. And I know you've written about them, and they're now, I can't stand this new term, this roster related reasons. You're going to trade him this. It's enough with the whole roster related reasons. It's just, he's going to be traded. That just say it like that.
Yeah.
But that's screed aside. From your perspective, the New York Rangers, I mean, you sign your netminder to the long-term deal. He's your goalie of the future. What is going on in New York? Because it seems like Panarin's all but gone. It looks like they're going to sell some of their other veterans. What are you seeing as what's going on in New York? And is that market going to be happy with this sort of retool, rebuild, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, well, first I'll say, who hates roster-related reasons is the fantasy hockey community. It frustrates everyone there to no end. But yeah, to your question, it'll be interesting to see how far they go with the rebuild, because they tried to do this 8 years ago, and then the first letter, right? And then Panarin basically fell in their laps, and Shesterkin came up, and he was phenomenal, and they didn't really have to do it. They just got good again. So. I think Panarin, from what I heard, just they didn't want to pay him the money he's looking for in a contract extension. And because he's going to be a UFA, just made sense. to use him. So, or sorry, to trade him. For, you know, I guess a nice haul. You're going to still get a good haul for him back. And yeah, I just look at their team again. They just, you know, they're very mid. They have, you know, a lot of older players. They got to probably get younger, some more skill. Some of their younger guys haven't really panned out. Like Lafreniere has been, you know, okay, but not what you'd expect from a number 1 pick, obviously. So yeah, I think they just want to freshen up that roster, get some young bodies in there. Again, when you have goaltending, when you have high-end talent, like they still have, obviously Zibanejad's still going to be there, JT Miller. And it worked out the last time they were had a bad season. They ended up stumbling into the number 1 pick with the lottery. So they have, like, you know, Cooley's pretty good. Willie Cooley, like, it's just some guys that I think are good pieces they can build around. But yeah, you want to move some of those older guys out. They can get a haul this year, right? Like, they're the first team to really announce, hey, we're selling, so they can kind of get a jump on the market with some of these moves.
Michael, we had your Sportsnet colleague Sean Reynolds on about an hour ago, and we asked him about this, and I want to ask you about this because a lot of people are talking about this. The Olympics are less than 2 weeks away. Got some injuries. The Jets just played Tampa Bay. No Braden Point. He's been out for, I think, about 2.5 weeks at this point. So a lot of Jets fans are you know, kind of hoping that Mark Scheifele might be the replacement if Point isn't able to go. We should mention that we're not sure if Braden Point's going to be able to go or not, but let's go under the assumption that Braden Point isn't able to go. I'm going to put you on the spot as well. Who is your guy that replaces him? Is it going to be Mark Scheifele? Are you looking at Zach Hyman? Is it another player? What is your kind of thought process? And then maybe also throw in Logan Thompson. If he's not able to go, who's the third goalie for Team Canada? If you can touch on that as well.
Sure. Yeah. I saw Braden Point practice this morning, but he's not playing tomorrow. I know that. And he didn't take line rushes or anything. So I don't know how close he is. But yeah, to me, if he can't play, I am on the Scheifele bandwagon here. I wrote about that a few weeks ago. I thought he should be the next man up for Canada. I think he's after
your popularity just skyrocketed in Winnipeg, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I've watched him like torment the Leafs for years, so maybe that did it.
Good Ontario boy.
Yeah, I was gonna say if like Doug Armstrong only watched Mark Scheifele tape against the Leafs, he probably would have been the first pick for Team Canada. But yeah, I saw. I think Scheifele is 4th after McKinnon, McDavid, and Celebrini in Canadian scoring. So I was kind of shocked he was left off. Obviously, Point's a right-handed center. Scheifele's a right-hand center. I think Scheifele's got a lot of versatility. He can play in different spots in your lineup. Can play on the power play, kill penalties. Could go to the wing if he has to. Can play him in like any situation, which I like. And yeah, I know a lot of people have been talking about Zach Hyman lately because he plays with McDavid. But I don't know. I like Hyman, but I think almost anybody can play with McDavid, or you should hope. So to me, I'd rather have another center there in case you need to take like key faceoffs or stuff like that. So it would definitely be Scheifele for me. As for the goalies, I would probably take one of the Colorado. Yeah, I would take one of the Colorado guys. I'm a big if a goalie's playing well, just get out of his way and let them play. So like Wedgwood and Blackwood have both been great this year. I would have taken one of them for sure over, you know, I don't know. It's this might be a hot take, but I don't know if I would have taken Binnington. Like he's just
like Michael, is Darcy Kemper Canada's number 1 goalie? I think he is.
I don't know if Thompson's hurt, he might be. Yeah. So I don't know. And it's obviously it's not a deep pool to pull from here. Canadian goaltending's kind of gone the other way, where we've kind of come to know over the last 20 years, but yeah, I don't know. It's just funny how with goalies, it's more of like a vibes thing. It's like Binnington's played well in big games before, so let's just take him over the 2 Colorado guys that have like a couple of the best save percentages in the league, and Binnington's like one of the worst statistical goalies this year. But I get why they did it, but it's kind of scary.
From Friday 4 to Sunday overreactions, Michael Amato covers it all for our friends at sportsnet.ca. Michael, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your insight here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Our pleasure. Take care, Michael. There he goes. Thanks for joining us this morning. We have one final commercial break, and then we'll be back to wrap this morning and get you set for the Jets and the Panthers this afternoon, followed by the Illegal Curve post-game shows. So Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg encourage you to take this opportunity as we go to break to smash the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and just pick up your phone and text a friend and family member that the best place to be every Saturday morning is the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca. For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
This January, it's Pasta Tuesday every day at Boston Pizza. Our pastas start at just $11.99 all month long. Create your own or go gourmet for a little extra. Plus, the deal continues every Tuesday all year. Hungry for saucy savings? Hungry for BP.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. Fun show this Saturday morning. Big thanks to Michael Amato. Big thanks to Sean Reynolds. Big thanks to all of you. Dave,
Big thanks to the people who reached. I gave away tickets. I was giving away tickets during the break. Bailey's going to the game tomorrow. Mark Hildall's going to the game today. We got rid of a lot of
Mark Hildall. That's my old Kelvin friend.
Well, your Kelvin friend is going to be along with three of his friends.
Mark Hildall's my sister's age, but yes, we went to all the same schools together. Robert H. Smith, River Heights Junior High, Kelvin. Well, so shout out to Mark.
Well, Mark has 4 tickets, Ezzy, so we'll see if Mark considers you to be a really good friend and invites you along to the game today. But he'll be seeing the Moose and the Ice Hogs. They get underway in about 3 hours. Sorry.
And Dave, will you be there covering that and joining us for the post-game show? Are you doing double duty? What are you doing?
Well, it is a bit difficult though when I have to do the Jets game and the Moose game at the same time. So we'll see.
How much Drew does Dave love these days with the Moose game in the afternoon and the Jets game?
No, I don't like him. I don't
Dave's
like when
little
they overlap.
sausage fingers are just.
No, I don't like it when they overlap, Ezzy. It's a little too hard. You know, you call me the clip master. It's hard for me to do that.
You are the clip master.
I know. And so, speaking of clipping, Kevin He, 20th goal of the season yesterday for the Flint Firebirds.
Here he goes. So,
that's a big one for him. And Kieran Walton, he's not quite number 1 in the OHL. He slipped. He's number 2 because he had a secondary assist in yesterday's game for the Petes. But That's about all I can report. From
Want me to hit it, Dave? Are we doing it?
No,
we'll do it tonight on the post game
Yeah,
show. There's
there's
no
nothing-
need to hit it now, Ezzy. Don't
Amy's
keep
going
your
to be
powder
going with
dry.
Goalie. There you go.
There you go. Something to look forward to. The Jets and of
Really,
the
I really want to
Panthers.
hit it.
Don't hit it. The Jets and the Panthers, and then of course the Moose and the Ice Hogs. So there'll be plenty for us to talk about later this afternoon on the Illegal Curve post game show, right around like we were talking about 5:40 or so. Sort of a weird 3:00 start time, but 5:40 for the post game show to talk about what happens this afternoon. Should be an entertaining battle between two teams that would certainly qualify as being completely desperate.
So hold on a second, though, Drew. It's almost 11 o'clock. We're wrapping up this morning show. The game's at 3. What am I supposed to do between now and 3?
I leave that to you to figure out. You're like, whatever you want to do. This is time for you to engage in some, personal growth potentially.
Maybe I'll go get a massage.
Sounds like a day. It sounds like a couple of hours for escapades, if you ask me.
As he's on his own, he's got 4 hours or so to kill. May God have mercy to everybody within the St. James neighborhood. Who knows where this is going to go for the next 4 hours or thereabouts. But
maybe I'll go to Silver Heights for some ribs.
What's better than having ribs at 11 in the morning?
He should get like one of those yo-yos. He can just play with a yo-yo for the next few hours.
You know what? As he plays with yo-yos too much, I think, as is. So we probably shouldn't encourage him to do that. But whatever he's going to do, I'm sure he's going to do it responsibly, just like we suggest that you do it responsibly for the next few hours and then be back here to join us for the Illegal Curve post-game show later on this afternoon. I want to say a big thank you to all of the sponsors of the show. Again, reminder, we're at City Place on Wednesday. They're a big sponsor of ours. So join us at City Place Wednesday, 12 noon. We'll get you set for the Jets and the Montreal Canadiens, an original 6 matchup. So those are always entertaining. We look forward to that. That's the last game before the Olympic break. In fact, it's the only home game in the month of February for the Winnipeg Jets, if I'm not mistaken, as the Jets start on the road after the Olympic break. So you can get set for the only opportunity to see the Jets on home ice. Maybe that's a blessing in disguise, but whatever it is. A
lot of Habs fans at that game, Drew.
There will be plenty of Habs fans at that game on Wednesday. We'll be at City Place, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. They're one of our sponsors as well. Steve Fury is at Rumors. Both shows very close to sold out, so if you want to get your tickets, do them now. RumorsComedyClub.com. Play Now is the title sponsor. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Remember the Winnipeg Fury, Drew?
I do remember the Winnipeg Fury. Shout out Tony Nachita. I think he might be
my uncle Sammy was a season ticket holder. Loved the Winnipeg Fury.
Played at the old Waverly Soccer Complex.
I think they played elsewhere. I think they played at the stadium, the old Winnipeg Stadium at first, and then they moved around a little bit.
But I think that was the home base was at the Waverly Complex, wasn't it?
Okay, it might have been.
It was. And I would know that because I grew up on Waverly.
There you go. But the complex is not on Waverly, is it? Or I guess it is further down on Waverly. It's not near where Ezzy lived on Waverly. It's not
it's the Waverly Soccer Complex.
I know, but it's not in the residential part of Waverly, is what I'm saying. Leave me alone. Holt Dental, Wheatland Hockey, Boston Pizza support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey.
Oh, nice.
Ezzy, I know what you should be doing. You should be practicing making pavlova for the next 4.5 hours.
No, get that comment up there, Dave. Don't take that comment away.
Well, I had it up there for like a good 30 seconds.
Shout out to Joel. The Royal Rumble is at 1 o'clock. You know where the Royal Rumble is this year?
No idea.
Saudi Arabia.
Why are we shouting it out?
Because it's on at 1 o'clock.
Ezzy loves dictatorships, apparently.
Yeah. What I will say though, I can tell you what Ezzy.
It wasn't a geopolitical statement. I'm just saying that the Royal Rumble is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, guys. Come on, didn't you watch SmackDown last night?
I did not, but I can tell you what Ezzy will not be doing. Bowling at the Roxy Lanes. For anybody who grew up in the North
R.I.P.
End,
Roxy Lanes.
I know Roxy Lanes. I was driving down Henderson, and sure enough, they're taking it down.
But Dave, you're more of a Billy Mosienko
Dave,
guy.
you're bearing the lead in that the Roxy Lanes shut down. I think you said
3 years
ago. And you didn't know.
4 years. I had no idea. Well, I mean, again, hence the reason why it's shutting down because people don't go there evidently. But
based on what's happening in Winnipeg, let's just be thankful it didn't burn down.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Is that too soon?
But, no, I think it's a fair point actually. But yeah, no, I was definitely more of a Billy Mosienko, which is still there, Main Street, just saying, 3 goals, 21 seconds.
There you go. Good job. That's it for us. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. It's been another fun edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll be back for the post-game show. Dave Minuk's in the top right, Ezra Ginsburg's in the bottom middle, and I'm your host, Rumendell. We remind one and all that if it's Saturday, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. See everybody in about 6.5 hours time for the post-game show.